convention, they had one of their, I believe this, one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci, the heads of Moderna, Pfizer, Biden, and you locked up for what happened during COVID. I don't agree with them, but there is a big sentiment. Elon Musk tweeted, prosecute Fauci.
What's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to watch a few clips from Tim Pool's interview with Donald Trump and give my reaction to it. I'm also going to talk about Trump speaking at the Libertarian convention and why personally, even though I have a lot of libertarian views, why I'm not a libertarian, why I think that they should try to negotiate with politicians, and also a lot of other stuff. I want to react to a picture of Nikki Haley writing "finish him" on an Israeli missile, stuff going on there in Rafah, and also some interesting info came out about donors in this next election. We could talk a little bit about the Trump court drama, and I got a lot of other things I want to show you guys. So that's the show for today. Give me a thumbs up in the chat and the algorithm if everything looks good. Dreamer podcast starts now. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. I came prepared. Appreciate you guys.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, Joe? Lauren said, missed you. Appreciate it. Ezekiel, what's up, brother? Phaedra, Giovanna, Marla. Appreciate y'all. Before I start, I want to talk about Memorial Day real quick because I took the weekend off. I mean, I was doing other work, but I tried to do some other stuff. And, Memorial Day obviously is a holiday to remember the veterans. And I'm mixed on just looking at people posting on it. I just wanted to start with this before I get into the reaction. And, I think that you should respect the United States veterans. And I think that it's nice to show love and to have a Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers. One thing that bothers me, though, is that so many, and I'm obviously like liberals suck. I have to say that or else people get confused because some people think it's like one or the other. And if you're not Trump, you're Biden or whatever. So I got to always explain that for the slower people here. But, I feel like sometimes a lot of people on the Republican side, they use holidays or situations like Memorial Day to really just push more war propaganda that's going to kill more young men. And the sad part is, it's sad when young men die for America. It's extraordinarily sad. It doesn't matter World War I, World War II, Vietnam. Anytime U.S. soldiers and people's family members are dying, it's just extremely sad. What's even more sad is the fact that when you really do your research, you realize that a lot of these wars either could have been prevented or they're actually against America's interests. And it's at this point not that hard to figure out. If you look around America, some things, it feels like they're purposely trying to destroy America because any sort of person, it's like if you ran a restaurant or an apartment complex or a hotel and things got weird, you would troubleshoot and be like, okay, we need more security. We need more of this. We need more of that. In America, they do the opposite. They're just flooding us with more crime. They don't seem to care. They send our money overseas. The government's out of control. The uniparty's out of control, and they so clearly don't care about America. It's just so confusing to me that people realize that the uniparty in America hates America and is purposely destroying America, but then so many of them fall for war propaganda and think we're still fighting these righteous causes. I'm going to talk about it later, but it's like, yeah, we're killing tens of thousands of women and children in that country because it's like these are the same people that are telling you that America's awesome and the economy is great and there's no inflation and crime's down. Like the same people gaslighting you in America about these topics are the same ones gaslighting you overseas. So I just wanted to say to all the veterans, God bless the veterans and the fallen soldiers. And I don't like to politicize that, people dying. But I just feel like there's so many Republicans I follow that use the Memorial Day to push people into more war that's not even for our interests. So, and then just like doing like merch promo codes and stuff. Like I love the country, so buy my, red, white, and blue thing. It's like, yeah, I get it. Everybody needs to sell stuff. I'm not opposed to selling stuff. It's just something about Memorial Day really bothers me. Obviously, it's sad that soldiers have died and it hurts my soul. But it's even more sad to watch these Republicans continuously trick their audience into thinking that they're fighting these awesome wars just so they could send more soldiers to die. It's really worth, I just want to say this. We should be remembering our veterans and respecting our veterans and appreciating our veterans, but also learning the mistakes of the past so we don't keep making them in the present moment. Because it's not nice to send hundreds of thousands of young men off to die, especially if it's for bankers and uniparty donors against Americans' interests. With that being said, here's the first clip of Tim Pool. Congratulations, Tim, on getting this interview. That's a big interview. He asked him about Julian Assange, and this was Trump's response.
One more big one. Will you pardon Julian Assange?
Well, I'm going to talk about that today, and we're going to give it very serious consideration. And we're going to have a couple of other things to say in the speech that I think you're going to love.
I've heard some rumors.
And you've gotten so much out of me, I should leave a little bit for the speech, don't you think?
Mr. President, it is an honor and a privilege. I really do appreciate you sitting down with me.
And you're very respected, I have to say. When I did a little research, and some of my guys said, and I met you before, but they said just a very respected guy. It's my honor.
Well, very respected. I don't know about that. I didn't see that part. So, Trump, if you're willing to say Tim's respected, what aren't you willing to say? Not just kidding. But hold on. I got to see that outfit again. You're interviewing the president in a beanie dressed like a South Park character. Hold on one second.
One more big one. Will you pardon Julian Assange?
Well,
listen, I'm all about casual wear, but if I interviewed Trump, you best believe I'd be in a suit. Come on, have some respect out there. I'd tie my hair back. I'd wear a suit. I wouldn't come dressed like Cartman with a beanie on. But anyway, jokes aside, he asked, what do you think about pardoning Assange? And Trump gave, someone said very respectful, you're respected. It's like, listen, you could lie about Julian Assange, but if you say Tim's respected, now you've crossed the line. Jokes aside, it's interesting with Trump because I think it's so polarizing in the left and the right. Fighting is so intense in this country, and people have I don't know if I would call it whiplash or PTSD. I'm not trying to be respectful to real veterans, but PTSD of all the drama of Trump and liberals, where they freak out when you say anything. But to me, obviously people like Trump for a reason, but politicians are always good at saying both sides of the argument. So he was in office. He didn't pardon Julian Assange. He hired Mike Pompeo, according to Tucker Carlson, wanted to kill Julian Assange the first time he ran using WikiLeaks. Then he pretended like he didn't know what it is. On this topic of Assange, Trump flip-flops. And I think that, Trump is trying to please two different groups. There's people that pay Trump and give him money and basically run his administration who probably hate Julian Assange. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't think Julian Assange is popular with the establishment. But then you have the voters who overwhelmingly like Julian Assange. So now Trump is in a political point. I'm getting hundreds of millions of dollars from donors. I surround myself with people like Mike Pompeo. At the same time, 95% of my base probably likes Julian Assange. So what do I say? Do I piss off the establishment who I'm probably going to hire? Do I piss off the base? And Trump has gotten very good at these political answers, I've noticed. Even when he talks about Israel and Palestine, he says a lot. So if you're pro-Israel, you're like, oh, yeah, he's pro-Israel. He's going to crush Palestine. And then if you're pro-Palestine, you're like, oh, well, he didn't say that much. He kind of left it open and said that they got to end the war quickly. When Trump talks about Israel-Palestine, he says, listen, Israel, finish the war. But at the same time, you're losing public support. So it's one person could perceive that as him giving full command to Israel to just wipe out Palestine or whatever you want to call the women and children and people that they're killing, and then telling you that they're not or something. But, or on the other side, you're like, oh, he wants to end the war. So I don't really think much of that. I'm going to move on. I guess I don't know that he would pardon Assange, and I don't know that was really anything but a political answer. Time will tell all. And I think politicians, sometimes they have to do what they're pressured to do. And I think Republicans are bad at picking a topic and caring about it. They're constantly running in circles around the political theater. So I don't think Trump really thought much of it. He's like, let me just give an answer that's not yes, but it's not no. And we'll see if he wins or when he wins, if people still care enough about that to try to push him on it. Here's a question that I have a huge feeling about, because I'll just play part of it first and then I'll talk about it. So Beanie Man asks Trump about Fauci. And someone at the Libertarian convention wants to prosecute him and Biden and Fauci.
Libertarian Party National
Yeah.
Convention. They had one of their, I believe one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci, the heads of Moderna, Pfizer, Biden, and you locked up for what happened during COVID. I don't agree with them, but there is a big sentiment. Elon Musk tweeted, prosecute Fauci. Fauci lied to Congress about the gain-of-function research that was going on, and now we have testimony.
Well, I'm the one that stopped the funding, and this was funding from before me. I'm the one that stopped the funding. Fauci wasn't a big player in my administration like he was after I left. I mean, Biden made him the king of everything. And
yeah, I don't know that that's true what he said. I don't think it's really true, but that's the narrative Trump goes with. And I think that people will probably just believe it because when Trump says it, they'll be like, yeah, that's true. Biden, really put him in power and Trump really put him on the sidelines. It's like, not really. There's another angle to it I want to talk about. But first, I want to play the second half of the clip because Trump says that he left it up to the governors and he believes in federalism, which sounds good, but he tweeted the exact opposite thing when he was in office, and he took full credit for the lockdowns and said, don't believe the fake news. It's not the governors. And I highlight this for those who are like extremely slow, not just a little slow. They literally think if you say this, like if you do random or accurate reporting, that means you like Joe Biden. It's like, no, if Trump says the sky's orange and Biden says the sky's purple and it's blue, it's not like, oh, you're purple, like I don't know who told people to think that way, but it's really dumb. It's very childish. Here's the second part of it. And I just want to show you what he says versus what he said when the lockdowns were happening, just for historical reasons. There's two different types of people. They want to know the truth and they don't want to get gaslit by politicians. And then other people that, I don't know, they're just very emotional about this stuff. So here's the clip, and then I'll show you what he said while he was in office.
if you take a look at that, Fauci was not the big player with me that he was. And in fact, I did things that he didn't want to do. He wanted to keep it open to China. I said, you got to close it to China because it was all coming out of China. It was coming out of Wuhan, which I said right at the beginning. But the other thing is, and what people don't realize, I believe in federalism. I gave the power to governors. Some governors did a great job. In all cases, they were Republicans. And some, like in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, kept everything open. Others didn't. The Democrats did a bad job, very bad job. But basically, I gave that power over the states. I gave it to the governor. I gave it back to the states. And I think it's something which, when people realize that, it's something that they respect.
So he said that in the Tim Pool interview, which is interesting because he tweeted while the lockdowns were occurring. He said, for the purpose of creating conflict and confusion, some in the fake news media are saying that it is the governor's decision to open up the states, not that of the president of the United States and the federal government. Let it be fully understood that this is incorrect. It is the decision of the president, and for many good reasons. So, it's another one of these things where Trump is interesting because when I say I have to really go slow and explain it or else people's mind just goes all over the place. I'm not saying not to vote for Trump. I'm not saying to be a Democrat. I'm not saying to like Joe Biden. I'm not endorsing RFK Jr. I'm not in the Libertarian Party. I'm none of these things. But people don't understand that, where it's like you point this out and they're like, oh, so what should I vote for Biden? And you're like, what? No, it's just, yeah, Biden sucks, but Trump is also a politician now. He knows how to say both sides of the argument. When he wants to look like he's the one doing the lockdowns, he says, no, it's not the states aren't doing this. This is the federal government. It's not the governors. It's me. Don't listen to the fake news. You're like, okay, it's you. And then it's like, wait, it's bad? Oh, wait, no, if it's bad, then it wasn't me. But when I thought it was good and it made me look like a leader, it was me. So people can't fathom that Trump is just a politician. He takes hundreds of millions of dollars from donors. He speaks out of both sides of his mouth. He says this, he says this. He, says both sides of an argument. He says nothing, so you can interpret what you want. Trump has this interesting spell over Republicans where they just can't fathom that he's a politician, and they have to make up some thing in their head that, oh, maybe it's this or that. It's like, or maybe he's just doing what politicians do. Now, I think smart people figured it out by now. People that are emotional and like obsessed, they'll never figure it out. So what's the point of arguing with them? On that note, I just wanted to mention about the Fauci question. This is something that I find fascinating about just culture and politics and what I've learned over the last couple of years. There's something called herd mentality or hive mentality. We see it with the left. Hundreds of millions of people will say the same 5 talking points about women's marches and blah, blah, blah. And, all these topics, and Republicans look at them and they say, you're brainwashed. You're all thinking the same thing and saying the same thing, but you're all wrong. And liberals, they look at themselves and they say, how could we be all wrong? He says it, this news says it, my teacher told me this. Like, I'm learning this from all these different sources. And it's called herd or hive mentality, where everyone just kind of, says the same thing. And there's studies and psychiatric, like books you could read about this, where people are very likely to follow the herd. There's a lot of experiments where they can get people to do really messed up stuff. If they tell everyone else is doing it, are you going to do it? People are followers. I mean, this goes back to what your parents told you or growing up, where it's like, don't follow the crowd. This happens to adults too. People tend to just follow. Not everybody's a thinker. Not everybody's a leader. Most people just do what everyone else is doing. With the COVID narrative, I think I'm grateful in some ways. I mean, obviously, I'd rather people pay attention, but this is why I became, I had different levels or eras in my career. Like at first it was like, oh, he's the, guy who didn't vote for Trump, who likes Trump. And then it was like, oh, he's like more conservative, but he's kind of like a hippie. And then during COVID, like some people don't even know it. As much as people that have followed me for a long time, they'll say, oh, you just grifted off Trump and now you're doing this. There's millions of people that, like, I'm not going to say millions that stop me, but just say I've talked to like dozens of people in person where they don't even know I'm like political. They're like, you're the COVID guy. You did the COVID reporting. Like they don't even know. They didn't even know that I talked about Trump. Like I told them like levels of my career, and they were like, oh, I didn't even know you did that. Like I didn't even know you were like reporting on Trump and stuff. I just knew you from the COVID lockdown. So anyway, the reason my work got very popular during COVID is because most Republicans, they don't think, they just follow. So when someone says something, they all just say it. And the reason I kind of had this long intro into this is because that's sort of the Fauci thing to me, is like everyone just talks about Fauci. I understand. He was on television with Scarf Lady. What was her name? The lady with the scarf, Dr. Birx. They were on television for a long time. Fauci's the head of the NIAID. So it's understandable that people only talk about Fauci because he was like the most famous doctor or leader during COVID outside of Trump, who's not a doctor, but a leader. You get what I'm saying? He's one of the most famous characters during the pandemic. With that being said, Fauci is only one guy. He's the head of the NIAID. There's a lot of other players that made this all happen. It's just Fauci. I'm not going to say he's the fall guy, but he's like the head puppet. You know what I'm saying? They put Fauci out there knowing he's going to take all the blame. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that did even more or just as much as him. He's only one person. With that being said, Republican media, most of it, they're so basic that they don't ever research or think or do these like really try to figure out where it all came from. They just say Fauci. Oh, Trump hired Fauci. Trump gave Fauci an award. It is true. On Trump's way out of office, he gave Fauci an award. He gave Moncrief Slaoui an award, who was the head of Operation Warp Speed, a pharma bro that Trump brought in. He gave Alex Azar an award. He gave a lot of different, I think Dr. Birx got an award. But in general, it's like, Tim Pool's question about Fauci, it's fine. I'm glad he asked something, but everyone does this. Like everyone just says and thinks the same thing. And it's like, oh yeah, the Fauci. And then people will be like, you didn't do this to Fauci. And Trump goes, I didn't really do much with Fauci. And then the Trump supporters go, well, Fauci, I mean, he did what he had to do. Here's what I'm saying. I mean, and I'm not trying to be too critical because, congratulations to Tim for getting the interview. He did it the best of his ability, I think, probably. He tried or whatever. But the real question in my view to ask Trump is like, it's not, the Fauci question is easy for Trump to wiggle out of. It's like, it's just, it's Biden. I didn't do that much. And people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The question is, Trump took $1 million donation from Pfizer. So even though on the campaign trail, he said he would never take other people's money, because once you take money, you got to sell your cabinet out. People don't even know this to this day, but the reason Trump's cabinet sucks so bad is not because he got tricked by his advisors. He took the money and sold his cabinet out. So as soon as he took the Pfizer money, he put Scott Gottlieb at FDA, who ran off to the Pfizer board. And then he picked Alex Azar, who was an executive at Eli Lilly, which is like a pharmaceutical company that does lobbying and a bunch of other pharmaceutical stuff. Look up Eli Lilly. So anyway, the real question to ask is, the Fauci one is like, oh yeah, Fauci could have done more, could have done less. The real question is, you hired a pharmaceutical executive to run HHS, which is above Fauci, and he was the one who officially declared the emergency that gave the liability shield to the pharmaceutical industry. And without that liability shield for the emergency that was declared by the pharmacy executive, they couldn't have warp speeded it. The only reason they were able to warp speed a vaccine is because they have no liability. If something goes wrong, they don't have to pay for it. They already cashed out because the government bought it. The whole thing is socialist. But do you see what I'm saying? Trump would not be able to weasel his way out of that question because it's a real question. It's not like, oh, what about Fauci and the prosecution? Sure, ask that question, but that's like, it's hive herd mentality in the Republican Party. Everyone says something, everyone says the same thing, and then they argue about a topic that doesn't get deep enough to what really matters. Another question that I would have probably asked if I were Tim, and I've been telling people publicly, like, ask this question. I don't care if you give me credit or not. I just want to see Trump answer it. But in 2018, Bill Gates came to the press and he said, Trump actually he offered to give me a White House science advisor position. And I told him and got him really excited about a universal flu vaccine. And I told Trump, don't you want to be the science guy that does the universal flu vaccine? Don't you want credit? This is what Bill Gates told the press in 2018, right? In 2019, Trump passed almost exactly what Bill Gates said to the press through executive order in 2019. So my question would have been, are you taking orders from Bill Gates? Because he said that you offered him a position, and also everything he said to the press that he told you to do, you literally did a year later, 6 months before the pandemic, through executive order. So like, is he a big influence in your decision making with the science? Nobody even knows this for multiple reasons. One, once you know this, it's like hard to be a fan and just like a zombie of a political figure. But also, it's like people just it goes against their bias. Like, I don't want to even know that or think that. But like, that's a real good question. These other ones, it's easy to just wiggle out of because they're not real questions. Fauci's been there for decades. You know what I'm saying? He's really just the figurehead and the top bureaucrat, but he's not like the only player. And he's the one that is like kind of the fall guy for them. Like, you get all the fame, you get all the glory, you get all the hate, and then we'll do all this behind the scenes. And then, left and right could fight over it. So overall, I wish somebody would ask those questions, but at this point, for those wondering, I don't know. I don't really have expectations anymore. I'm kind of bored with the way everything's going, because I do feel like everybody has this herd hive mentality when it comes to politics, where they all think the same, they all act the same, they ask the same questions, they say the same talking points, and I just have to ignore it and do other stuff, or else it just bothers me because it just feels very dumb. So it is what it is. Interesting stuff. And I'll say this about the Libertarian Party and convention before I move on. Trump spoke at the Libertarian convention. He offered them some things. He said, you guys are losers, essentially. Like, all you do is lose. Like, go ahead, go vote and get 3% or whatever, which is true. They never do win. Apparently, they're picking some guy named something Oliver, who's like a liberal libertarian, which is cringe. It's like, the Libertarian Party, no offense, it already is kind of cringe. Not some of the people in it, but just like the infrastructure. It's just like not run well. And now they're picking like a liberal libertarian. That's good for Trump. It's bad for the Libertarian Party, but everything's bad for the Libertarian Party. So it's just another failure along a huge list of failures for them. And, it's kind of embarrassing. You got all these like, conservative libertarian guys that are like in the forefront of, Republican and independent media. And then you pick some weirdo liberal libertarian to be your president. Like, it's just like, it's so embarrassing. So I think libertarians, they'd be best to not believe Trump and not like give him a softball, because I don't believe in like, believing everything Trump says, but use your leverage to negotiate and try to strike a deal, because that's really the best you're going to do, or else you're just going to get blown out in the election. So I like this idea of like Trump, even though, I do think he's a socialist, and I don't even really consider him that conservative. He's like an international, like liberal world order socialist, pretending to be like an America First conservative. And he just gets paid off by donors of a foreign country. But, in general, it's like, I'm not I'm not super thrilled with him like representing the Libertarian Party, although I don't care because the whole party's cringe. But I do think libertarians would be smart to negotiate with him and strike a deal, and that's better than running some goofy liberal libertarian who gets like 2% of the vote. It's so embarrassing. With that being said, too, I want to say this before I move on. I don't take like labels anymore as far as like, are you this, are you that? It's like, what does that mean? Like, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm not a psycho, like warmongering, donor sucking fraud. Like, no, I'm not that, but I'll vote locally if I feel like it or whatever. When it comes to libertarian, I have a lot of support from the Libertarian Party because a lot of these new guys in libertarian media are pretty cool, and they realize that the Republican Party's fake and socialist and scammy, and they're all liars. So they end up liking my content a lot. But I never call myself a full-blown libertarian because I'm really not. On certain topics, I do believe in liberty. I think liberty is what it makes America great. The First Amendment, I think the Republican Party is too big government, and they're international. They're not even like, I would say, they're not America first. They give money all over the place, and then they complain about welfare checks. Complain about welfare checks, but if you're giving $7 trillion of COVID welfare to everybody, and then you're like, oh, look at that liberal that wants a welfare check. It's like Republicans are so fake. They're fiscally like communist, in my opinion. They're not even close to conservative, but nobody in the Republican Party seems to realize that or care enough to switch it, and they always get tricked or whatever. So it is what it is. But I wanted to say, the Libertarian Party will never be successful. Never. I don't think it's, Dave Smith and Clint Russell can try. Other people can try. I wish them luck. And this Oliver guy seems like a total clown. I prefer the Clints and the Daves, obviously, over this weirdo that they picked or that their party picked. I don't think they like it. But in general, I don't think libertarians are ever going to win. And I actually don't agree with their theory of individualism versus collectivism, because they say that collectivism is all bad and individualism is all good. In some cases, sure, but at a certain point, I do believe in hierarchy. I do believe in community, and I do believe in groups and organizations. It's just I don't like bad ones, and I don't personally believe that individuals will ever succeed. Like, I think that most libertarian policy is super naive. You could pull it off in New Hampshire, but if a cartel comes through or gangs start going, or you do it in a bad neighborhood, like all of a sudden it doesn't work. Like, it's like these people, some libertarians, not all of them, but a lot of them are super anti-police. I talked to Renato Moicano from Brazil. He's a UFC fighter that's super libertarian, but because he's from Brazil, he's a conservative libertarian. He says, I love Ludwig von Mises and I love their economics, but you can't badmouth the police, because he comes from Brazil where the police have no power, where people don't respect the police. And he came on my show, even though he's libertarian, he cited it. He said the number one problem in Brazil that I see is the fact that people don't respect the police. And once you don't respect the police, he goes, it's all going downhill from there. Where most libertarians, they're from America, they don't understand, or they don't want to think, like, they're like, oh, the police and this and that. And it's like, a lot of these theories, like it doesn't, why are the guys that are ANCAP and anarchists, why, like, very rarely, sometimes they're jacked and they're like super alpha men, but a lot of times they're super scrawny and skinny. And it's like, bro, if this were anarchy, you're losing day one. Like, your ideas of nonviolent principles, they're just ideas. You do need some sort of police force or military, in my view, to defend, unless you live in a utopian society where people don't commit crimes. But then you'd have to have strict policy, strict immigration, and really look at stuff and not just be like, whatever happens, happens, because then you lose. So I'm not libertarian for multiple reasons. I think that it's very naive when it gets to anarchy. And I think that the people that think that they would thrive would lose the first day. Also, I just don't think that individuals will ever beat collectivists. And I'm not saying that every collectivist is good. I think a lot of the governments are bad. Some of the religions are bad and the groups are bad. But like, you go to a libertarian convention and they can't agree on anything. And they can't agree on anything because they're all trying to be individuals. And it's like, at a certain point, I do believe in structure and hierarchy. Like, if you're the man, you're the man. If you're not, fall in line. Like, everybody's like, I'm the man. I think this, I think that, I'm liberal. I'm blah. It's like, if you put 100 libertarians in a room, they just argue the whole time. Even if you're like, you try to argue with them about not arguing, they'll still argue about not arguing. Like, they love to argue. They love to be individuals. And some of it's great. I just think politically it's never going to work. Societally, it's never going to work. On a individual level, it works. And I think in certain areas it's good. Like we need to be more libertarian in this country. But I think the party's destined to fail. The people are destined to fail. And although I have, huge amount of respect for a lot of the thought processes in libertarianism, because the Republican Party should adopt a lot of their principles. I'm a Christian conservative still, and I do believe in other things than anarchy and that sort of stuff. So I personally, I'm super individualistic, but almost to a fault. I think at a certain point, you do need a group. Everybody needs a tribe. And if your tribe is the individuals that don't want to be a tribe, then it's just never going to work. But good luck. It was an interesting, thing to observe. And maybe perhaps I'll drop through there next time and try to get some interviews. That probably would have been smart business wise, but I didn't even really know where it was and kind of looked at it a little too late. With that being said, I wanted to read a report because I told people a while ago that Trump is hated by certain media companies. A lot of them are starting to fail. Trump is hated by certain establishment politicians for sure. He's clearly hated by certain liberal judges. And, I do have my theories of why they hate Trump so much, as does everybody. But one thing that I told people was for this election, Trump is going to have a lot of establishment support and donor support, because a lot of the big donors in America, I'll just say it, not all of them, but a lot, they care about Israel. They just do. That's what they care about a lot. So a lot of these big donors, they'll say that they're not going to give Trump money, but as soon as they realize that Biden's not doing enough for Israel, then they'll just give money to Trump because they pay the politicians to get pro-Israel policy. And then they turn around and call you anti-Semitic for noticing. So I've told people this for months because I've noticed it. I'll just show you a few reports that I saw recently. Donald Trump vowed to toss anti-Israel student protesters out of the country in a meeting with the donors, is a new report. Why would he be telling donors that he's going to toss anti-Israel student protesters out of the country? Because the big donors pay Trump millions of dollars to do stuff for Israel. So that's why he's talking about it at the donor meetings, because that's what they want. That's like their number one agenda a lot of the times. And I'll show you that in a second. Michael Tracy tweeted, he said, LOL, too perfect. Billionaire private equity mega donor Steve Schwartzman said he'll start funding Trump again because he's so concerned about anti-Semitism. This just shows you why the GOP is so obsessed with trying to make a wedge out of the issue. It gets results and money. It's interesting because when you talk about that, they'll say, oh, are you doing that anti-Semitic trope? And it's like, guys, I know you want to think that these Republicans care about so much, but if Saudi Arabia was giving them $1 billion, they'd be pushing pro-Saudi policy. These are professional prostitutes. They'll tell you they're doing it morally. They'll tell you they're doing it spiritually. They'll tell you they're doing it because they stand with their greatest ally, but it's all money, And I want to show you something as well, because a lot of people don't even know this, because the dominating narrative was about Lil Wayne got pardoned, and I believe that Kodak Black, another rapper, got pardoned. People don't realize that Trump pardoned one of the most damaging American spies and sent him back to Israel on Trump's donor's jet. Look at this. Jonathan Pollard is one of the most famous spies in U.S. history, and Trump let him go back to Israel on a private plane by Adelson, who at the time was Trump and the Republicans' biggest donor. You could see that Trump also pardoned Aviam Sella, who was apparently Pollard's handler. So Trump pardons foreign spies who do a lot of damage to the United States. That's why, and this is so funny because people are so brainwashed now in the Republican Party that they don't even realize that we're separate countries. Like they probably don't even have a problem with people spying on America. They're like, our greatest ally should spy on us, but at one point we had a sovereign country. We don't anymore. America's not a sovereign country. But when we were our own country, even then it was like, yeah, you can't just be spying on America and giving secrets to whether it be China or the Soviet Union at the time or whoever they were selling the secrets to. Like you can't steal American secrets and sell it to our enemies. So they arrested foreign spies from Israel. Trump gets in. He's like, you know what? Let's send those foreign spies who damaged America back to Israel on my donor's jet. So I debated conservative mama about Zionism a couple weeks ago. And I mentioned to her how donors were doing this. And she goes, oh, are you doing an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory? And I'm like, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's in mainstream news all the time. The donors are swarming Trump right now, for pro-Israel policies. Trump got hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. Trump and the GOP, not a million, not five. Oh, it's only $1 million from Pfizer. Over $100 million from mega donors like Adelson. And then he pardoned foreign spies and sent them back to their country that they spied for on a private jet of his donor. And then we get speech laws in America that say it's anti-Semitism to say that they're doing it. So then they take away our First Amendment and say, oh, it's hate speech to say that this is happening. And the funniest part is Republicans are so stupid, not all of them, but some of them, they actually like it. And when you point this stuff out, they get mad at you. They're like, oh, and it's like, no wonder the elites think you're so dumb, because you are, And I'm not trying to be a dick, but I want to show you a picture that everybody understands except for Facebook. I got an email, by the way, from some lady who said, hey, Anomaly, I've been watching all your videos. I've shared it with my friends. You keep talking about boomers, and I'm considering not watching now because I'm offended because I'm a boomer, but I don't think that way. I'm going to take a page out of Jesse Lee Peterson's book. He says, not all, but some. When he talks about black people or something, Jesse's black, but it'll be like, not all, but some. That's what I'm going to say. Not all boomers, but like 90+% of Republican boomers have no problem with Israel wiping out every woman and child in Gaza and Rafah. They're disgusting. They're demons. They don't know they're demons. They're like, yeah, I listened to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so you want to, and then they're like, but the election, they voted for Hamas before Obama was in office. That's when the last election was. And they wouldn't have even had an election. The West forced them to have an election almost 20 years ago now. And 90% of Republican boomers on Facebook would kill every woman and child because of an election that happened 20 years ago. And then you ask these stupid demons, you're like, so should someone do that to you because Obama won? Or should someone be able to do that to innocent Americans because of, Biden? And they don't know anything. They're literally like idiots and demonic idiots. So it's like, anyway, I posted this picture. Everyone gets this picture everywhere except for Facebook. They think it's awesome. They love Nikki Haley doing this. They're disgusting. I literally think they're demons. Like they're so brainwashed that they're like totally fine with this. So Nikki Haley, I guess she's in Israel and she's writing, finish them on the missiles. So she wants them to finish them. I know some people will say, oh, they're talking about the terrorists. And it's like, maybe, or they could just be talking about the people there. Nikki Haley, now we got Republicans that are just drooling over Nikki Haley. One thing is that they did something so messed up in Rafah recently that like even Israel's like, whoa, we got to look into that, because I don't know what they did. They like bombed a refugee camp or something, or they killed like, I don't know. I don't know what exactly is going on, but it's like they just kill like thousands of people. And they're like, yeah, we killed like 2 Hamas people, but we just slaughtered like a couple hundred babies or whatever. But we're getting the Hamas. And it's like, when it's all said and done, are they even going to fully wipe out Hamas? Do they want to? Obviously, they say they want to, and you would hope that they want to. But it's like, you got American politicians. They're giving their money to this slaughter, and then they're writing finish them on the missiles. Here's what I want people to consider is that, a huge talking point in Israel, not by everybody, but Netanyahu's mentioned it, and I'm seeing more and more people mention it, is Amalek. And you could look into that because it's a biblical term, but I believe it's in the Old Testament. But Amalek is known as cursed people who, in many cases, there's lots of people in the world today that say we want to completely wipe out Amalek. We want to blot their memory. We want to destroy them from existence. And in some cases, you see people that when women and children and kids are dying, they're like, yeah, that's what Amalek deserves. We're wiping them out. So this term Amalek is being mentioned to wipe people out. Someone I followed mentioned it, and I just want to show you guys because every time something happens in Gaza or Rafah, they say, yeah, Amalek deserves that. Telling people and telling Christians and Americans that, Amalek is the Palestinians. Like whatever they get, they deserve because they're Amalek. But the thing is, Amalek is not, that's not agreed that it's just Palestinians. Many think that it's Christians. So just keep that in mind. Christians, unless you don't care, which is odd, but anyway. So someone I follow, her name is Jessica Vaughn, lovely lady. She said, expect more of this. Support of Amalek will not succeed. And it was Valuetainment posting that the Gaza aid pier breaks off and floats into Israel. So she mentioned the word Amalek. She said, Amalek will not succeed, meaning Palestine. Like they're not going to succeed. They're not going to get their aid. It's Amalek, that they're not meant to succeed. Most people would read that and be like, oh yeah, that's Palestine, that's Amalek. Well, you got to look into it more, because if you research Israeli paper, this is from the Jerusalem Post, they said, indeed, many rabbis identified Amalek with a specific people, such as the Christians and the Armenians. So many rabbis say that all Christians are Amalek and Armenians are Amalek. So it's often used as like, okay, this justifies what we're doing. And I mentioned that to her. I said, many say that Christians are Amalek, by the way. And she said, I'm sure as hell not an enemy of Israel nor the creator of the universe. Nope. So completely doesn't care that Christians are Amalek. And she's like, nope. I'm not going to be an enemy. I didn't ask you to be an enemy. I'm not an enemy. I don't, that's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying in general, you got to pay attention, because if they're using a biblical term to say this gives us justification to wipe out tens of thousands of women and children in Palestine because they're Amalek, and the women and children are guilty because of an election or whatever, this or that, or they deserve to die because they voted in 2005, even though half of them weren't even born yet, but we're just going to kill them and say that that's why they deserve to die. But it's like, because why? Oh, because they're Amalek. Okay, interesting. So what if Christians and Armenians were considered Amalek? Well, all you have to do is look at Armenia. Armenians think that they're being genocided again. And when you look at the Muslims that are invading or trying to fight the Armenians, where are they getting money and weapons from? Look it up. Israel is funding the Muslims to fight the Armenians. If you think they're Amalek, then it is what it is. But wait until Christians realize that they're also considered Amalek. So it's not that hard for me to figure out. And I'm not saying that everyone believes this, because like in every religion or ethnicity, like not everyone agrees. But, people think, oh, we're going to do all this stuff to the Palestinians because they're bad and they're evil and the kids and women are just so bad and the Hamas, this and that. And it's like, okay, do you think that about Armenia? Should they get wiped out as well by the, Muslims that are being funded probably by America too, and Israel, to wipe out these Christian Armenians? You want to wipe them out too? Yeah. Well, look at the war. We're also fighting Russia, where oh, look at America. It's not even Christian anymore, and the whole cities are falling apart. Weird. It's almost like, there's an attack on certain people or something. I don't know. Maybe you should look into that. No. Can't tell my Facebook supporters, though. I just got to post fart memes like these 60-year-olds are like babies. Like they're literally like 5-year-olds. You give a 5-year-old a binky and like a square and tell them to put it in the square, in the circle. That's like Facebook boomers. They're like, yeah, wipe out the women and children. And it's like, what if you're next, stupid? I don't even care. I don't even care if I'm next. It's like, shut the fuck up. Excuse my language. But, people really need to figure this stuff out, because I think there's a little pattern going on. And when you look at the United States of America, like things are purposely being done. The borders are purposely being flooded. Crime is rising. People, like, it's getting really dark out here. And I just don't understand why. I know it's brainwash and propaganda from fake churches and, fake Republican media. But in general, it's like, I don't understand why people don't understand it. Like Nikki Haley is horrific, but now she's awesome because she's signing a missile that's probably going to blow up a child. She doesn't care about America, but she cares really hard about that. The Uniparty is purposely destroying America, but they're coming together to stand up for like, you got to be an idiot. You really got to be an idiot to not be able to figure this out. Because if American politicians were doing any sort of good in other places in the world, wouldn't they do good here? If they can invade Iraq or whatever, can't they invade Los Angeles and fix it? It's disgusting. They don't give a shit. There's an agenda going out, and it's not to help you or anyone else. So I'm just saying, people are going to figure it out the hard way, because as soon as certain people and certain women and children are blown up, I don't know what's next. But I mean, just look at America. They're like, there's a huge agenda to like, make women into men and men into women and take parents away from their kids. Like, it's all happening here now. And I would just say to Americans that a lot of people don't believe in karma, especially, religious people. But let's just say what comes around goes around. I think people understand that. Everything that they said they were doing overseas, like, oh, we're going to Africa to do these scientific experiments to really help them with vaccines and this and that. It's like, Maybe they did that. Maybe they really helped them, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't at all, and they're giving them birth control and abortions to really help the Africans or something. Yeah, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe not. And I think more people are on the maybe not side now, because all of these pharmaceutical scientific experiments that only used to happen over in Africa, then they started happening in America with the pandemic and the lockdown. And then you got to see in real time what they were probably doing overseas for a while. Now they bring it domestically, and it's not so pretty, huh? And they don't care about your family, huh? And they're trying to force your 19-year-old to get it, huh? Yeah, it's not so fun when it's you, is it? It's the same thing with the foreign wars. For so long, especially Republicans, but a lot of people, they thought that we were just going over there and building schools. What kind of schools? Because you don't even like the schools in America. You say they're turning all the schools gay. What are you trying to make the Afghani kids gay now? You're going to build an American school in Afghanistan? They're not building schools. Maybe they build a few for political reasons, but in general, it's like, everyone's going to figure out what's really going on. And if you haven't figured it out by now, it's like most cities in America are falling apart. Crime is rising. The borders are open. They're allowing millions of people to come in and rob you. And I'm not saying all the people are robbing you, but I'm just saying, like, theft is up, car break-ins are up. Like, the country's falling apart. And people literally still think that this is like for our best interest. They're like, oh yeah, we're really crushing the enemy overseas. It's like they're crushing you as we speak. So pay attention. Speaking of which, I saw this real quick. This is Trump. He posted about Speaker. He wrote, Congressman Mike Johnson is a tremendous champion for Louisiana's 4th Congressional District. Mike is not only our speaker, but is also a patriot. We get along very well and continue to work closely together. He has done a very good job advancing our America First agenda, supporting our military, growing our economy, holding Joe Biden's crooked administration accountable, and fighting for free and fair elections. Mike Johnson has my complete and total endorsement. I understand if he endorses Mike Johnson for political reasons, because that's just what they do. But to tell me that he's fighting against Joe Biden's economy, no, he's not. That he has an America First agenda, no, he doesn't. Like, it's not that, like, if he just said, hey, a Republican's better than a Democrat, and I'm going to, do what I need to do when I get in office, then it's like, all right, yeah, okay, I get it. You got to endorse Mike Johnson. But the gaslighting from Trump has been so crazy the last few years, where it's like, he's not making the economy better, and he's certainly not America First. But if you want to write that, you can. I just don't have to believe it. Before I move on to the last thing I wanted to talk about, I think that Trump is going to win, most likely. I think that a lot of the elites and the donors want Trump to win. Obviously, certain ones don't, the judges, etc. But besides that, they want Trump to win because they're dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into Trump. And Trump's going to do what Mike Johnson does. Trump's going to do what Nancy Pelosi does. Trump's going to do what every politician besides Thomas Massie does, and make sure that America serves Israel first, because that's what America really is. It exists to serve a foreign country, pass speech laws in America to stop you from saying it, and then tell you that it's a conspiracy theory that it's even happening in the first place. And Trump is no different on that topic, and RFK is no different on that topic, and none of them are any different on that topic. That's why, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. But, vote for Trump if you want conservative judges. Vote for Trump if you want, I think that's the biggest one, is conservative over liberal judges, which is important to some extent. Vote for Trump if you want to see if he pardons somebody, or if you want to see if he actually deports people or builds the wall. It makes sense to roll the dice on Donald Trump. I think he's the better option, or for some people, but I don't know. The amount that I care about it is pretty low at this point. It's just like, I see it for what it is, and I don't get too worked up about it. One thing I wanted to, pay a little tribute real quick. This guy passed away in Los Angeles recently, or he got murdered, and it's pretty sad. And I have like a personal story. I'm not doing it to like clout chase, but just to pay respect and just try to honor this guy, because I it's really sad either way. But I have a story for it. So this guy was murdered in Los Angeles. It's super sad. His name was Johnny Wactor. He was a general hospital actor, and he was shot in Los Angeles. Somebody was trying to steal I think it's called catalytic. I don't know how to say it, catalytic converter. I always pronounce it wrong. I apologize. Off his car in downtown LA. He ran up on him and they shot and killed him dead. And, my friend texted me about it and I was like, dang, that sucks. And, downtown LA is a place I just never go anymore. I don't go to LA in general, but like I hate downtown LA. It reminds me of hell. Skid Row is disgusting. Parking your car is dangerous. It's literally just like hell, except there's so many cool places to go there. Like it could be cool if they cleaned it up. But LA is like a really poorly run city. And I guess he was down there. Maybe he worked down there from what I heard. And, he was killed. And my friend texted it to me and I was like, dang, that sucks. And then he said he followed you, he followed you on Instagram. So I went to his Instagram. I saw he followed me. And then I checked my messages to see if he had ever reached out. And he did in 2020. I never text responded because I get asked so many questions that like I just get overwhelmed by answering questions. But I did like it to make sure he knew I appreciated him. And I'm not reading this to clout chase. I'm reading this because he just seemed like such a nice guy that, I don't think he would mind or his family would mind. I mean, he just was just super nice. So I just wanted to read. He wrote it to me in 2020. He said, man, wow, thank you. Thank you for your fearless honesty, your thorough research, your clear and comprehensive delivery. Thank you for your care and time. I'm incredibly grateful to have found your page. I've been watching your videos the last hour and was compelled to share my gratitude. I hope you continue to unveil the truth. So he texted me that and he asked a question. It's not important, but he was asking like what other news sources to respond to. But just the fact that he took the time to really like compile a message that was just super just thank you. And, seemed like a super stand-up guy. And I want to read one of his last tweets on Twitter because I saw it and it obviously makes me sad for multiple reasons. But just the fact that this is what America has come down to and this type of stuff is super common now. If this is happening and it only got in the news because he was a famous actor, how many other people is this happening to that the news doesn't feel like covering? But this is one of his last like public tweets. He said, have a great day, everybody. Some helpful reminders shared with me today. Appreciate your health and take care of it. Offer help to your neighbor today. Be grateful for what you have instead of focusing on what you don't. So that's the type of guy he was, and some piece of shit just killed him. And now we don't have this guy anymore in our community or society, and pieces of shit who shoot other people, apparently just run rampant in major cities and no one seems to care. How many people is this happening to? How many millions of people? And I'm not saying these people were illegals because they probably weren't, but we already have gang violence. We already have crimes rising. Break-ins are occurring more. Car robberies are occurring more. People getting shot at their houses. People getting their houses robbed. Where's the FBI? You know what I'm saying? They've questioned I'm not going to say half, but they've questioned Trump supporters, people that are 55 years old who went to a Trump rally and got lost in the sauce, and even people who didn't. They're spending all of their time in research. Do they give a fuck about people that are just getting shot in broad daylight? Do they give a fuck about people whose houses are getting robbed? Do they give a fuck about, a car break-in? Like where the fuck are the feds on this type of stuff? Because this country's getting ghetto and turning into a shithole. And even the nice places are having more break-ins and more robberies. And they're spending time just harassing conservatives for going to a freaking, Trump rally because they were pissed off about the election and the lockdown. And it's like, it just pisses me off, obviously, to see this happening. But it's like every time somebody good like that gets shot and every time some piece of shit gets away, it's just slowly making our country shittier, and everybody sees it. Customer service sucks more than it used to. The prices are high. The service is shittier. Nobody gives a shit. In shitty areas, people are getting shot and robbed all the time. In nice areas, people are getting robbed more than they ever got robbed before. Cars are getting broken into. Jewelry stores are getting broken into. Nice houses are getting broken into. The whole country is going to shit. The feds seem like they don't even give a fuck. They're just harassing political people. And, the more that this happens, they're just slowly wearing down our country, our culture, our society. And it's heart-wrenching on a personal and individual basis. And it's disturbing on a large-scale trend that this is happening. It's just really disappointing. So let me know what you guys think. I'll read a few comments and then I'm going to take off in a couple minutes. Someone said, what's the root cause of crime? I mean, there's a lot of root causes, but it comes from the type of people that are here. And then also the fact that it's so easy to get away with because there's no like huge, obviously there are consequences, but it's just too easy. It's way too easy. Someone told me, and this was like interesting because my buddy's in Miami, right? And in Miami, it's a big city, it has problems. But he said, if you take the trains around here, they got armed security all over the train station. And, if you stand around too much, they ask you questions. In Los Angeles, they have no security. At least the last time I was there, I went on the metro for like 5 years of my life because I was broke. I was just taking the train. And the train sucks in LA. But anyway, like they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like if they gave a fuck, they'd have private security or public security at every train station to make sure no crazy crap was going on. It's like the wild, wild west in LA. Downtown, it's so disgusting in downtown LA that they just don't even care. And it's like a rotting hellhole. It's insane. But like other cities, even though they're big cities, they like actually kind of care. So they're like, yeah, how do we make this better? And then they try. You're not going to stop crime, but you could deter it. In California, in the big cities, not all the places, it's just like, who the fuck cares? How do we make it worse? How do we bring more people here when we can't even feed the people here? It's insane. Someone said, Anomaly, do you have any plans one day to start your own media company, or do you plan to continue to do solo work? The media landscape definitely needs more exposure to this type of coverage. Good question. I'm on the fence about it, to be honest. And the more people you have to pay and the bigger you do it, the more liability and responsibility you have. Here's my thought too. It's like right now, all the money I make, I'm the only member of my business. So it's all mine. You know what I'm saying? I take the losses, I take the wins, I take the hit, I take the good years, I take the bad years. When you bring on people, now you have a staff. Now you're incentivized even more to make money. Cause if you make half as much as you did last year, now you have to lay off people. And now, and I think there's a lot of reasons people are sellouts in this industry, but I think one of them, say you have 20 employees, you can't afford to have a down 5 months or else you're going to have to lay off your staff. Obviously I care. I don't want to be broke and I care about money. It's not like I don't at all, but I can afford to have a bad year or a bad couple months. It's not like I don't have to like lie or, do something weird in order to get attention. Like I just do what I want to do. So that's the pro and the con. Like the pro of building a media company is like, yeah, you could start to compete more. The con is like, now you have more responsibility. Now you have more liability. If you're raising money, you gotta really make sure you're doing the right things and paying people. And I'm not opposed to getting the right team and stuff, but if I do it, I want to do it right. For now, I'm just kind of going through the motions. Let me see. If you're wondering why Christianity is being destroyed in America, I figured that out, but I hear you. Someone said, I'm glad I moved away from San Diego in 2001. Yeah, but I understand that. Yeah, I heard it's going downhill in San Diego. I don't really go there much, but as things get worse, like the whole country kind of wears down. Even in conservative states, it's just like, it's a numbers game. You know what I'm saying? Like, say the number of people in America, like 20 years ago, like how many criminals were there? Now, how many criminals are there? And I'm not saying like everyone's necessarily a criminal. Having a bad economy doesn't help either. But it's like, as this country just wears down and people don't have morals and values, it's going to be impossible to escape. You're going to have to go to like, where it's really snowy, really, to be honest. Like that's the only way to go. Yeah. The whole country's a dump. It's starting to feel that way. And, you go to even like Canada. This is what I will say about some of these countries that are considered socialist. Like America does socialism, just not for you. And I'm not a socialist. I'm just saying like America's doing socialism. Trump is doing socialism. Biden's doing socialism. It's just not for you. So like you go to Canada, they have this nice airport because they built it. You go overseas, they got this nice airport because they built it. You go to America, these airports are embarrassing on an international standard, and our airlines are embarrassing on an international standard. It's because they don't give a fuck about you. They hate you. The people who run this country hate you. Get it through your heads, okay? They're not starting a war for you. They hate you. If they cared about you, even other countries that don't even like their people that much, like them enough to build some nice stuff or do some nice stuff. America has really nice national parks. There's a lot of good things about America. Our national parks are still epic and they're well taken care of. But it's like they have the money to do all these awesome things in the country. They don't. They hate you. You're a cash cattle to fund a foreign war so your tax dollars can go to killing women and children. And then the donors buy off the media companies, and the media companies convince you that you're fighting the terrorists and fighting the enemy, when in reality, you're like sort of doing that, but you're also just mostly like killing a bunch of civilians. And you're like, oh, but they're doing that because they like us, right? If they liked you, they'd fix the country. They could start a war and kill people in other countries and fix the country. They don't, because they hate you. And they don't respect you because you're too dumb to realize that they're doing it. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like this country is very disappointing. And even the nice parts are being worse because everybody has travel now. It's not like back in the day. It's like, oh, who's your paper boy? Oh, it's your friend's son. Oh, who's this? Now everybody's coming from everywhere. Everyone's getting deliveries, this and that, this and that. Most delivery people are great people. Don't get it twisted. I love people that work and provide service. Like, they're good people. But in general, it's like everyone knows where everything is now. It's not like 50 years ago, you need MapQuest. And, let me print out a piece of paper. It's like, like now you just, like, everybody's got GPS, everybody's everywhere. The criminals and the people that want to steal stuff, they know where the money's at. They know where people's not paying attention. They're in and out all the time. So, the whole country is kind of getting shittier. But let me see. Someone said the truth hurts as if it should. Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't want to stress out about it. I try to just live my life and not stress out about it, but probably like other people here, sometimes you can't avoid it because it's like nobody does anything right anymore. I don't get into too much personal stuff because I just try to do my job, but it's like nobody does anything right anymore. All the customer service sucks. Like, everybody that tries to fix, and there's good people out there. I'm not trying to hate on everybody, but it's just like the country, the quality is declining everywhere and everyone knows it. I put it on Twitter. I was like, does everybody realize that everything's getting like shittier in customer service and stuff? And it got like 3 million views on Twitter. And like everybody of every race and every part of the country was like, yeah, no, I noticed it. Yeah, no, it's like that post struck a chord with people. I didn't even think it would go viral. I was just like venting. MJ said, from a Muslim and a Christian couple in Dubai. Thank you, Habibi. Appreciate you in Dubai, Habibi. Appreciate the money. Do you like Habibi? Is that offensive or is that funny? Maybe the Christian thinks it's funny. The Muslim. No, I'm joking. I appreciate you both. I'm sure. Habibi is more like cultural. It's not really religious. Anyway, from Canada, in Canada, help me. We could send you some aid and supplies. That's about it. Someone said no one that is in LA hangs out in LA. That's for the elites. I avoid LA like the plague. Somebody invited me downtown LA. They're like, there's this fighting event downtown LA. I told them I don't go to LA. And they're like, oh, if you don't want to drive, we'll get you a car. No, you don't understand, my guy. Like, and this was before that guy got killed. I don't go to LA. I don't go downtown. If you want me to go downtown, you got to pay me $30,000. And I'm not that bougie. Like, you got to pay me to go somewhere. That's how badly I don't want to go to downtown LA. It's hell. It's like, do you want to drive through hell? Yeah, if you're going to pay me like a shitload of money so I could buy property or something. But no, do I want to go for free? Absolutely not. Do I want to go for a little bit of money? Hell no. Downtown LA sucks. There's really cool clubs and stuff. It's just like, it's lawlessness. It's like lawlessness, crime, filth, dirt, just trash. And people are like, this is cool, right? No, it's not cool at all. Cool is like a neighbor who would pick up the, plastic wrap in front of your door, not a freaking, disgusting filth everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, someone said born and raised in SoCal, never go downtown. Well, when you live in LA, you got to do stuff there. That's why I just avoid it completely. Someone said customer service and products are really sucking these days. Everything sucks, but it's because it's because no one cares. Like in America, this is my issue with obviously the right is better at running cities and stuff, but it's like the left doesn't give a shit because their ideology is causing a lot of these problems, and the right are just professional losers. They're like, Trump's gonna fix it. He's not gonna do shit. Like, he might do a little bit, but it's like apathy and people just not knowing what to do partially. Like, what do you even do if you do notice? But I went to Denver recently for a fight, and I had a good experience. It was fine. But my hotel, I'm staying at some hotel, and my view out the window is it's like this abandoned building, or a building that's not abandoned. It's got cracked windows and graffiti all over it. And it's like, this sucks. You know, like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, that's like decay. It's like rot. You know, if you go to your friend's house, like, yeah, it might be old. They might not be like, you know, rich, but it's like, are you going to have like smashed windows and graffiti and, but like, no, that means people are breaking in. That means that criminals are breaking into properties and, you know, like, and then you just leave it there. I don't know. It's just like every city is just falling apart and people are like, this is grungy, right? No, it's decay. You go to like the guy from Dubai. Yeah, they don't have stuff like that. You go to even some cities in America, like that's not how it is. They don't, it's not good. Someone said, hi from Israel. Here's your hard earned taxes back. Is that for real? You really giving me money from Israel? Well, I appreciate it. God bless you. If you're really in Israel, that's hilarious. If you're not, that's anti-Semitic. I'm reporting you, but just kidding. But either way, thank you for the super chat. Someone said Trump buried the Epstein story. Nobody cares about Epstein. Not Trump, not Biden, not RFK. You know, you get the theater, enjoy it. Then none of them care about Epstein, or else they would have done something about it. There's levels to this game, and the truth is the politicians they're just not really on that level. They're on the, like, you know, honk 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 honk. Hey, Patriots, honk 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 honk. We're gonna wait. What did Steve Bannon write for me again? We're gonna make America great again and populism or something. Yeah. We're gonna do that. You know, that's the level they're on. They're not on the, you know, the donor level or the. I mean, Trump could have been on the donor level. He's pretty rich. I don't know what he's doing, but it's levels. Someone said a lot of people that put us in this position already are dying of old age. Yeah, I don't know. Each generation has pros and cons, so I don't know that the youth is going to necessarily fix it, but only time will tell. Someone said I don't like Bannon. I don't listen. I like those type of shows. I don't really listen to, but I do notice like certain trends where when people listen to certain shows, they're like, I'm listening to Steve Bannon. I'm getting China's really getting beat up, and it's like the whole energy of it. Like they have these like war room. You're gonna beat up China with the Donald Trump. It's gonna beat up the China, and then like every other week, Steve Bannon's like, what? Why did Trump endorse a rhino? Why is he trying to kick out the only good person in Congress? It's like, I wonder, Batman. You know, it's like it's not for me, but to each their own. This guy on Twitter that I've always talked about, like anytime someone gets mad at me on Twitter, they're always retweeting cat turd. You know, like cat turd is like brainwashed more people than CNN or Fox News, but maybe not more than CNN. But anyway, he like responded something snarky to one of my posts, and I was like, oh, nice. Do you want to come on my show? Because he's gone on Tucker Carlson and like showed his face. I was like, do you want to come on my show and debate me on it? And he didn't answer. And then like, it was just fascinating because I was like, dude, I really badly want to talk to this guy because he's so, I don't want to say boomery because I don't want to offend the boomers again. He's just so like cringe and like stereotypical, like, you know, it's just pretty funny. So I would love to have it because he's like, Biden. And I'm like, all right, you want to debate? And he's like, and then he's got like fan accounts that were gaslighting me. The one, like, listen to this. It's just funny. It's funnier when I talk about it because it kind of pisses me off when I read it. But they're like, why would he debate you? You're a nobody. So then I start like listing my stuff because I'm like, okay, I don't care. But if you care so much that I'm not big or important enough than Cat Turd because he's got a Twitter following, I'm like, nobody cares about this guy on any other social media. I got millions of followers on Facebook, almost 1 billion views, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. Like I'm more well known all over the place. He runs an anonymous cat account where he posts dad jokes about Trump. Like it's fine. He's famous for Twitter, but like he's not like that. He's not really like well known outside of Twitter. But anyway, I posted it just because they said he doesn't need to debate you because you're not important. And then I posted and they're like, oh, look at him listing all this stuff. He's so cocky and arrogant. I was like, oh my gosh. They're so annoying. It's like you say I'm too small to debate, and then I show you numbers, and then you're like, why are you showing me these numbers? You're so arrogant. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Someone said, who do you like as a solid VP for Trump's card? It doesn't matter because he's not going to pick somebody solid. He's going to pick. I told people years ago I thought it was going to be Elise Stefanik. People who followed me for years, I said that before he even ran for president, before he picked anybody. She's in the running. How did I know Elise Stefanik was going to be in the running? Because the donors like Elise Stefanik, and the donors control Trump's administration. So, I always thought she would be the choice. Maybe he'll pick Doug Burgum because he's got Bill Gates connections, and Trump loves Bill Gates and works on his behalf and does stuff for him, even though he'll pretend like he doesn't. So, Trump is a puppet, but people want to fantasize or whatever. So who would I want to be the vice president? Thomas Massey, probably, or have a high level position. Outside of that, I don't care about any of these people. Byron Donalds is basically just like a Trump butt sniffer. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, or coattail rider is probably nicer. Like, he knows where the power is. Trump, like, he's just like he's like a Matt Gaetz. They have some good policy, but they'll do what they need to do. Elise Stefanik is like a Nikki Haley type character. So Marco Rubio is popular with donors for obvious reasons. So I'm guessing Trump's going to pick like Doug Burgum or Elise Stefanik or Marco Rubio or something. But my choice doesn't matter, my opinion. Someone said if the president doesn't fix the spending deficit, it doesn't matter who wins, we all lose. People in America are so brainwashed by the Trump narrative on both sides that they don't even realize, like in the last like 10 years between Trump and Biden, let's just say their last two terms, how much money have they spent? 14 trillion, 15 trillion, 16 trillion. What have they built? If you're going to spend 16 trillion, you could rebuild every airport. You could put a sauna, a gym, a spa, build new baseball stadiums, basketball courts all around the country, private security for everybody. They fucking hate you. Trump hates you. Biden hates you. The Uniparty hates you. They're just giving you this theater to make you feel like you have a dog in the race. They've done nothing. They've done nothing for the country. They've given money to Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, probably their friends. They've printed enough money to rebuild all of America, and they've done nothing. But nobody cares because they're like, oh, Trump's going to fix it. What are you talking about? He fucked it up. Biden's better than Trump. No, he's not. Biden's like a diaper farting senile grandpa. Like, well, how is Biden's worse? But it's just like, that's the situation we're in, is like when Americans are so like, they're so dumb that they don't even notice that both parties are printing tens of trillions of dollars and doing nothing for them. Trump's like, yeah, I'll pardon some people out of jail or something, or I'll do a First Step Act. And people are like, based, we're winning. No, how are we? He built an embassy in Jerusalem and then gave money to the pharmaceutical industry. We're crushing. And it's like, we're not crushing. So with all this money they're printing, it's like, I don't even like to talk about it because I just want to have a good day. They're destroying the country from within. They've only fucked it up in the last 8 years. Then they're giving money to other countries that don't care about us at all to fight their wars. So then we get blamed for the wars that we're funding, obviously. And then we don't even get anything in return. They didn't build anything. They didn't give us anything. They didn't create anything special. And what's Trump talking about building? A new FBI facility. And this is your hero? It's just insane. But they don't respect us because they don't have to. So they just keep printing. If you're going to print $14 trillion, come on, dude, build me something cool. Rebuild all the airports, or do something that shows me that you care about Americans. They don't care, and they're not pretending to care. But this is the weird part, is Americans don't care about themselves. I don't know if it's the pharmaceutical pills. I don't know if it's the food or the demoralization or the left, right, the Fox News and Ben Shapiro versus the left, or what it is, but nobody seems to even notice or care. I was offended. I remember during the lockdown when everybody's stuck in their house and Trump's like, I'm going to do a jet. I'm going to fly jets over New York and New Jersey. And it's like, who the fuck cares about a jet, bro? And people are locked in their house. Like I'm a little slave. Like, oh, look, Daddy Trump gave me a jet show today to show me he loves America. Okay, back in the house, the social distance, like that's the type of shit they do. And people think like, oh yeah, I'm a patriot. I just watched the jet show. Okay, let me go back in my house now. It's like, they're like mocking us. Like that's what we got. 2 months of a lockdown and a jet show. Like, I don't want a jet show, bro. Open the country up. You know what I'm saying? Fight harder. to stop the madness, not throw jets over my head. It's like, oh, the Republicans are stupid. Just give them jets and they'll think they're patriots. Like, like this is the type of stuff they do. But the problem is when 9 out of 10 people go along, it works, like it works. It's like with Jordan Peterson used to talk about like helping women negotiate salaries because like statistically men are better at negotiating salaries. So like Jordan Peterson used to say, I've helped women negotiate their salaries and make their bed, clean their room. And you're like, okay, Jordan Peterson, clean your bed, whatever. Gotta go make my bed, actually, my bad. But he used to help women negotiate because it's like it's all about being confident and understanding how to negotiate. In the America negotiation, we're getting bamboozled because we have no seat at the table. The left is brainwashed into destroying everything, and the right's like, oh, a jet show and a Donald Trump and a foreign embassy and a new FBI headquarters. It's like we have no negotiation tactics. So the elites have successfully brainwashed people with left, right, and Obama and Trump and Biden and all these other narratives. Brainwash people to the point where 90% of the country isn't going to the boss and being like, listen, I need something better than this, So they just keep doing it. But if like all the men in this country and all the conservatives were like, no, we need to speak to the manager, like a male Karen, you know what I'm saying? We need more out of this equation. We would get more, but we get nothing because they're like, yeah, here's the platinum plan. Cool. Platinum plan for black people. That's awesome. But like build a new airport, because all cultures use the airport and our airports suck. You know what I'm saying? Everybody flies of every color and they suck, someone, like all the money they spent during COVID, they couldn't just renovate all the planes and make them look nice inside. Like it looks like a storage closet in first class on United. It's like there's like stains on the wall. There's no TVs. It's like it's first class. It looks like a storage unit that's been sitting there for 30 years. Anyway, I know that's like a bougie thing to complain about, but it's like obviously like economy is what you get. But you go over to Dubai, though, Habibi, you know what I'm saying? Like everything's nice. It's like all their airlines are like clean, I heard, and cool. But here it's just like, oh yeah, fly to Dulles Airport. I went to Dulles Airport in Washington. That's the shittiest airport I've ever been in my life. It's just like depressing and just shitty. I was like, get me out of here. Did I speak on Massey's election? Yeah, he won by a long shot. AIPAC spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to kick him out, and he won. Because anytime an American citizen likes America, AIPAC will run ads against you. It's okay. Let's see. Greyhound bus with wings. I mean, it's getting to that point. It's definitely getting like super just crappy, I remember I went on one flight and like, listen, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I'm not the cleanest eater by any means, but I am a respectful guy. So like you'll never see me throwing trash in the hall on a plane. I used the restroom on an airplane like last year or this year, I can't remember. And I'm looking down all the, the row, you can see the whole row, and there's just trash and shit all over like the main aisle. And it's like, who throws their trash in the aisle? It's like, put it in the seat pocket. You know what I'm saying? Throw it in a bag, like put it by your feet. You're just throwing trash in the aisle. Like back in the day, planes were like nice, people dressed up, and I don't dress up. I'm not the dress up type. Sorry. I'm like a sweatpants type. I'm trying to be comfortable, but it's just like, who throws their trash in the center aisle? Like, what is it? It's like, it's gross. Everybody's got to watch their Netflix, throw their trash in the aisle. It's just like, get me out of here. Someone said there's that weird Colorado airport. Yeah, I was there recently. It's interesting, but a lot of amazing pilots and stewardess retired. I believe that. I miss when people used to clap after the landing. Well, they will probably if it's like a crazy flight, but if it's a chill flight, they probably won't. Let's see. Pride of ownership should start with our thoughts. Interesting. Have I heard of the Saf massacre? I have not, Dank. Dank Bird Gang. You are a dank gang of birds on YouTube? Fascinating. I didn't know you guys could even use the internet. It's like when people leave their crap in a movie theater for someone else to pick up. Yeah, that's also pretty rude, you know? But at a movie theater, it's like I could see a popcorn falling. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just out there being a fatty, popcorn fall. Oh, you're not going to just pick up a popcorn because then they don't even really clean, you know, the ground. And it's like, oh, my hands are going to get, you know, next thing you know, there's 20 pieces of popcorn on the floor. I see that. But yeah, it would be nice if people cleaned up after themselves. I would never leave my trash there. I'd always throw it out. Someone said, I honestly can't wait to vote for the presidential candidate who was found liable for sexual assault and defamation by a judge and a jury. I'm voting for the candidate who's currently out on bail. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about Trump? What did he do? He like looked at a woman like 50 years ago or something at like a CBS. She's like, he looked at me the wrong way. And Trump's like, listen, ugly. Not only are you too ugly for me to ever look at, but also I don't go to CVS. I'm Donald Trump. Okay. CVS is for brokies like you, ugly brokies, and someone handsome and old and good looking like me would never go to CVS. Okay. So I couldn't have possibly touched you because I would never even step foot in that ugly store with ugly horse face swamp creatures like yourself. Okay. And then like Trump's lawyer's like, yo, come on, bro. Don't say that. Don't do that. Don't say that. That's going to make my job harder. And they're like, Trump, how did you lose that court case? They're like, who was your lawyer? He's like, I picked a woman who's really, 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 really good looking. Because if you're a good looking woman like Alina Habibi, then you must be really, really good at reading law if you're that beautiful. That's why I picked her. We're going to win. We're going to crush the deep state with me, Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson. We're going to crush together, okay? And my donors that you don't even know I have because you think I don't take money, but I do, okay? Crushing. Someone said filthy Americans. Hey, watch your mouth. This is a room full of Americans here. You respect us, damn it. We're not all bad. Just some are filthy. And a lot of people are fat. And a lot of people are addicted to pharmaceuticals. But that doesn't mean we're all filthy. Jeez. See, I feel like that person who wrote me an email, she was like, I've been watching you for years. And you blaming boomers every show really bothers me. But it's like, listen. That would be like if I said, hey, the majority of crime in this neighborhood is insert race here. And you're like, I've been watching you for a while and I'm that race. And it's like, I didn't say you. It's just like with boomers. It's like 95% of Republican boomers would probably blow up every woman and child in Rafah because they think that they're all terrorists because they had an election in 2005. So it's like if 90% of your generation is that, then you got to just eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine what's the younger generation, Gen X or something? Is it Gen X? I don't care, but whatever. Let's just say they're called Gen Z. Is it Gen Z? It's Gen Z. Whatever, maybe, whatever. If a boomer was like, Gen Z, a lot of them are weak and gay and they don't even know what gender they are. Imagine if I was like, I'm Gen Z and I know what gender I am. And when you said that, it like really hurt my feelings. It's like, is that a confession? It's like, yeah, Gen Z. It's like, I don't know. You could say like most millennials are like, spoiled, or most Gen Z are gay or something. Like I would never be like, I'm one of them, but I'm not one of them. It's like, yeah, I'm not saying it's everybody, but boomers overwhelmingly do think that way, but not all of them. It's like, but yeah, I did go to school and like 70% of my class was trans and like the other 20% were gay, but not me. So when you say that they're all gay, you have to remember it's only like 90%. You're like, okay. And are you still watching the show or no? Is that, I'm sorry. I have a theory that when you say stuff like that, the people that are that get mad, and the people that aren't are glad you said it. You know, it's like Republicans suck. And then like Republicans that suck are like, no, not me. And then Republicans that don't suck are like, yeah, these Republicans do suck. I'm a Republican, but I know what you're talking about. So I almost feel like it's a confession. It's like the people that do it are the ones that want to act like they're not doing it. They're like, it's not all of us. And it's like, okay, sure. Yeah. It's not all I'm a Republican, but like the party sucks. You know, I don't suck. I went to a party once. All right, bro. I own Mario Party 4. That game doesn't suck. Yeah, we get it. What are you? Let me guess. You're Bowser. Oh, look, someone's Bowser. Cool. You know who I am? Let's see. Let's see who can guess first. Maybe I don't know if I have anything to give away. Which character was I in Mario Party and Mario Kart? There's one character that I like. The rest, not a fan of. Let's see if anyone can guess it. You get a shout out if you do guess it right. Let's see what people say. Peach? No, come on. I'm not gay. Only gay guys use Peach, unless she's really fast. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. Luigi DMT? That's not a character. Bowser, Shy Guy? Nah, no one. Oh, Wario. There you go. Eddie got it. Yeah, I'm Wario. I always liked Wario because he just talked like a lot of shit. And I don't know. I was kind of trolly when I was young. So me and my dad would play and it'd be like, I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win. And then my dad would be like, oh, shut up. Like, you know, like, and then I'd start talking like Wario. I like Wario because he talked a lot of trash. He was like, he's like, I'm gonna win. You suck. You know, like, oh shit. Like, what did he say? You know, Peach and stuff. They were all like nice characters. I like the Wario. Yeah, I'm all about Wario. Good job, Eddie. Maybe I owe you. Maybe I'll give you a hat or something. I don't know how to contact you, but I'll give you a free hat if you could figure it out. I don't know. You're on YouTube, so I don't know how to talk on YouTube. Someone said you can be a conservative without being a Republican. You can call me what you want. I don't know what these words mean anymore. I'm a registered Republican until I unregister. If I unregistered, then I'm not. But if I'm registered, I'm a Republican. Registered Republican. But I don't like take the blunt of everything Republicans are doing. It is what it is. Am I conservative? I guess. I don't know what does it mean though? Does conservative mean like you have good values, or does it mean you're pro-life in America but you bomb kids in another country? Because that's what most Republicans do. They're like, there's babies being killed in the womb. And it's like, yeah, but you're fine with them blowing up like 6,000 kids in that country. And they're like, yeah, but those kids voted for Hamas. The election was in 2005, you sicko. And even if they did vote, did like if Biden wins the election, should somebody do that to you because the president, you didn't get the results you wanted? Like, these people are insane, so I don't know. Is that conservative? Because that's not me. So even with all these things, I'll just tell the truth and say what I believe. Like, a lot of libertarian things make sense. Some of them don't, in my view. And I don't think the party's ever going to be successful. Trump and the Republicans, they're not conservative, and they're not capitalists. Like, they're international liberal world order socialists. So they're telling you that they're Christian and conservative, and they really want to fiscally be conservative. And in the reality, they're running around with your tax dollars trying to blow up anybody who is conservative and kids and make everybody gay, overseas, and be like, spread sodomy to Africa and the Middle East. So it's like they're not even really conservative. Like, that's why Mike Pompeo says liberal world order. He goes, we're doing that. And that's Trump's guy. We're doing liberal world order. Why are we not doing a conservative world order? Shouldn't we make everyone conservative? No, we're making people gayer. We go to places that don't have drag time story hour. And by the time we blow up their infrastructure, now they're gay, or like, they're like, look, now they let the gays do what they need to do. You're like, all right, well, so the Republicans are international liberal socialists pretending to be conservative capitalists, but nobody seems to realize that. They're like, yeah, we're gonna beat it's like, okay, whatever. Someone said libertarians won't be successful because the two main parties fence them out. It's partially that. I mean, they definitely don't have the money and infrastructure, but they're also like, they're too individual. Like, they can't even agree on anything, and they can't come together. Like, I'm just underwhelmed by their candidate choices too. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, never mind. I don't want to be mean, but it's just, they got a lot of problems. Let's just put it that way. Someone said lock her up was a BS thing. It was a campaign slogan, but it never happened because it was just to tell, like, this has been a concept for so long now. Like, people used to say Hillary Clinton's a flip-flopper. What does that mean? Well, she said this and then she did this. Do you remember that when Hillary Clinton ran? I remember it when I was young. I don't even know what she was running for. Maybe president at the time. Hillary's a flip-flopper. She flip-flops. And people were like, flip-flops? Those belong on my feet, not in my government. Am I right? You know what I'm saying, folks? Flip-flops? What is this, the beach, or is this Congress? Am I right? Anyway, yeah, that's my sound effects. So like people were like, yeah, that's what politicians do. They like say both sides of the story in order to like get votes. With Trump, it's like people can't fathom that he also does that. Like he'll be like, lock her up, and then he gets in, and then he'll be like, actually, no, she did a good job or whatever. And people are like, oh yeah, he has to say that for this. Like Trump Republicans literally think that he's like a Marvel character, and they're so deep in it that they just don't want to give it up. So who am I to stop them? You know, where they're like, do you think that Trump could have done this for that, for this reason and that? And it's like, maybe, you know, but also maybe he just doesn't give a shit. Like, did you ever think about that? Like, it's like, do you think that Hillary Clinton has to take the donor money and do this and do that to please the Rockefellers in order to get this done, to do this because she really likes us? It could be, but also she could just not give a shit about you, and she could just be a politician. Like, you know, does the guy selling life insurance really love your life? I don't know. He'd probably love it a lot more if he got paid off your life insurance. Like, you know, yeah, like some people care, some people don't. I don't know what to tell you. Like, does the hot dog vendor really want you to have all your nutrients? Could be an awesome guy, or they might just want to sell you the cheapest thing they could find and make the best profits because it's a good business. You know, you make a lot of money off a cheap hot dog. But whatever, you know, I just think with Trump, people they don't want to think that he's just another politician. So they're like, could it be that he took hundreds of millions of dollars and pardoned a foreign spy and gave Big Pharma a bunch of money and bought their products to like save the world from a lockdown, and he didn't lock her up because he couldn't? You're like, or he doesn't care. It's to me, I not trying to be mean, but I just, when I see people like that, it reminds me of like I'm talking to like a big baby. You know what I'm saying? Like a kid is like, Mama, Dada, I'm a Ninja Turtle. I'm Leonardo. Yee! And you're like, okay, you're Leonardo. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's fun because the kid's younger, but like when it's like a grown man that's like thinks, you know, like Trump's a Ninja Turtle and like he just can't fathom that Trump doesn't give a shit. It's just like, you know, this is weird. This is awkward. But, you know, like, yeah, maybe, could be, but also like, you know, Mitch McConnell could love you also. Well, how come you don't consider that? Mitch McConnell loves you, and he's done Mitch McConnell's probably done more conservative things in his life than Trump has. But everybody's like, yeah, Mitch McConnell's a swamp. It's like, okay, well, he's gotten thousands of conservative judges. He's got thousands of conservative things. George Bush picked Alito. George Bush picked, you know, the Bush brothers, or not brothers, the father and son Bush, they picked Alito and Clarence Thomas. Those are better than any Supreme Court judge Trump has ever picked. Like if Trump picks a shitty Supreme Court judge, it's like, oh, it's just a secret. It's like, dude, even Bush has done conservative things. Like, you know, they've all done conservative things. Like Trump's really not that special. He gets way too much credit just because he's so charismatic and he's such a good talker and he's a good liar. Like everyone thinks he's like so great. It's like, how come he couldn't even pick a better judge than George Bush? He's not really anything. It's like but if people want to believe it, whatever. Someone said, I'm not getting into MTG's personal life. And you said she cheated with listen, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know and I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm just going to go out on a limb. Listen, I'm going to disclaimer. Don't take marriage or relationship advice from me. Okay. Just don't. I'm not saying I'm bad. I'm just like, I'm not married. So why would you listen to me? With that being said, my thought is don't let your wife have a personal trainer. I'm just throwing it out there. And if she says, oh, but I want one, I want a guy personal trainer. It's like, she'll try to gaslight you and be like, no, didn't Tom Brady's wife cheat on him with like a jujitsu coach? Like, oh no, he's just wrapping his legs around my face for training, for BJJ training. BJ training? Did you just say you're doing BJ training with him? No, BJJ. Stop being so jealous. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Jeez, why are you so jealous? Oh my gosh, I'm just training. And it's like, yeah, you don't need a guy. You're like, oh, this is the leg choke. I have to put my cock in your face in order to like choke you out with my legs. It's called like the ninja choke. And she's like, oh my gosh, teach me. It's like, they're like, yeah, I don't think you should be doing that with a guy. Oh, you just don't want me to defend myself? Jeez. And it's like, it's always a lie. Like in my view, no Brazilian jiu-jitsu trainer for the wife, no personal trainer for the right. Why don't you bend over real quick, do a few squats, you know what I'm saying? Get that booty plumb. I'll stand behind you to hold your back to make sure your posture's good. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, I'll pass. And then it's like, I can't be with a chick that's trying to gaslight me. Listen, I just really love fitness. I mean, 9 o'clock in the morning, a guy comes to stretch me out. I'm like, stretch you out? Yeah, stretch my leg. I have a stretching yoga coach. Geez, stop being so jealous. And then, at 10:30, my BJJ coach. Okay, he comes and we do jujitsu. Now that I'm all stretched out by my trainer. Stretched out by your trainer? I just told you, it's my yoga instructor. His name is Jeremy. He's tall, he's skinny. He listens to Russell Brand. He's not a threat. He just chills out and he does peyote. It's not a big deal. And then I go to my personal trainer. What's wrong with having 3 guy fitness instructors per day? I mean, it's just what I do. I'm like, you're also kind of not even in shape. I'm not trying to say you're big bone, but with all that personal training, shouldn't you be in shape? You know what I'm saying? Then you're fat shame. It's just a disaster nowadays. Anomaly, where do you see America in the next 20 years? I see a lot of husbands allowing their wives to have too many personal trainers, and it's going to be a disaster. Someone said I would hire her a female coach. I mean, would you want your husband having a female personal trainer? That's kind of crazy, Like I'd be down with a few female personal trainers now, but I'm single. As far as like, as far as all that stuff, I don't like. And then there's always the gaslighting thing where it's like, if I was in a relationship and it was serious and she was like, hey, I don't want you having like a female personal trainer, I would be like, no, that makes total sense. I completely get it. But like, there's always the guys and the girls that gaslight and they're like, oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you don't want to see me thrive and be a true woman. I'm listening to Lizzo crushing it with my male body host. And you're like, body host? It's like, there's always like it's called a toxic relationship where your like spouse is like gaslighting you. And you're like, I don't see anything wrong with what I'm doing. And you're like, okay. Someone said she's for the streets, in my opinion. But then it's like, once you lose leverage over your girl, it's over, then it's like, you're done. Someone said bros on fire. Listen, I'm a truth teller. What can I say? I'm just spitting facts. Yeah. Someone said I doubt a female trainer's any more trustworthy. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, maybe you just let your wife get fat. You're like, you know what? It's better if you just get fat, nobody likes you, and you're just home rather than you out here with these trainers. No, I'm just kidding. But no, a woman personal trainer is cool, but then they're going to just gossip the whole time. Women love to talk about things. They're like, oh my gosh, did you hear what happened? And then if you're getting paid to do it, you have to pretend like you give a shit. Like if you're her hairdresser or you're her personal trainer, she's like, do you want to hear me vent about my ex-boyfriend for 2 hours? And like inside the personal trainer and the haircutter's like, no, actually, I hate that. But then like the mouth moves and she's like, yeah, tell me about all your problems for an hour while you pay me to do a service. Yeah, no, for sure. I want to hear all that. Yeah. Tell me the same thing you told me last time. For sure. Let's go over that again. Someone said we need a Pearl Davis anomaly stream. She follows me on Twitter, I think. So, let's just say she's into the boy. No, I'm just kidding. But let me see. Pearl. She's a little wild, that one. Yeah, she follows me. So she only follows 530 people. So she saw some anomaly tweets and said, yeah, that's my guy right there. Listen, she's going to get me in trouble, though. She's always getting herself in trouble saying wild stuff. So I condemn all the bigotry out there for sure. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. She's a little extra. Like I don't hate her or anything. I think her tweets are funny, but she's always trying to like fight with somebody and stuff. Like some interesting moments, but yeah, I don't watch her show. I just see some of her tweets, and sometimes I think she gets off on not literally gets off, but I think she gets off on like like, oh, everybody's mad at me, like hoo, like I'm more like I gotta, I'm trying to not do that, but someone said this. Hey, for the women watching the show, I did not say this. Okay, someone else said it. They said, hold on, I want to read that because it's funny. Catastrophe said, catastrophe. Oh, that's funny. He said, women aren't mindless. Their mind is always working to be selfish. That's funny. I didn't say it, folks. Listen, it's a comedy routine. He said it. Okay, I'm not trying to be in the doghouse for his comedy. Audra, I didn't hear that one. Anomaly, what did you think about Trump's answer to Tim about his bad hiring? What did he say? Do you want me to listen to it right now? I could listen to it. Let me see. Trump, bad hiring. Actually, you just let me know what he said, and then I'll read it. Here, I'll recreate it. Tim is like, Trump, what do you think about all your bad hires? And Trump's like, bad hires? Who are you to talk? You have a bad beanie. That's a bad beanie on your head. And then Tim's like, darn it. I don't know if that happened. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Someone said, passport bros is where American men go abroad to find women because they think all American women are unsalvageable skanks. I think it's nonsense personally. Yeah, I don't think all American women are like that for sure, but probably I'm not a passport bro. I haven't traveled that much, but I would assume in Eastern Europe the women are more into marriage and stuff. Here's my take on American women, and I'm not blaming the women because American men, allowed it to happen, and American men probably inspired it to happen. Women had to do things because men weren't doing enough or whatever. But like in Eastern Europe, like women are more like, I'm a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my role. In America, like this is, in my view, I call it like Charlie Kirk republicanism, because like Charlie Kirk is basically like a feminist liberal conservative, where it's like he's just conservative enough for people to believe him and for the donors that he gets money from. But when it comes to like the women, it's like women's this, women. It's like feminism. You know what I'm saying? It's like right-wing feminism. So then you have all these boss girls getting paid to speak at the rally, and it's like they're just Republican feminists. It's like they want to be conservative women, but they want to wear the pants in the relationship. And it's like, if you're a husband to a woman who's like running the show and making all the money and like traveling all around, and you're just you're like a stay-at-home mom at that point. Like and I'm not, it is what it is. Like, I don't know, like you got to figure it out in this world. Nothing's perfect, and someone's got to make the money and someone's got to do it. But I do feel like American culture compared to a lot of other cultures, like Americans are so feministy that I don't think they realize that in other countries they're more into gender roles. Mexico, Eastern Europe. I'm not blaming women, and I'm not saying it's anything, but I find that like most Republican women that I see on social media, Republicanism is like an aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? It's like liberals are stupid and suck, and the men are gay or whatever. So it's like, I'm going to be Republican. I'm going to wear the red hat. I'm going to do this and do that. But it's more like an aesthetic. It's like going to Sephora and getting your favorite color. So it's like, they're conservative-ish, but they're more like libertarian. I think most Republican women are like socially libertarian in the sense of like, they just like know that the left is bad, but they're just trying to like, just have fun. Like, girls just want to have fun. I think that's a true song. Girls, they want to have fun. Put on a MAGA hat and party with the boys, And then like a lot of the women in Republican politics, they get in, they divorce their husbands. Now they're single, hang out with Trump and stuff. It's like, it's a trend I notice. It's hard to stay with a husband and like be in Washington and be traveling all over the place. It's just, it's a tough life out here for everybody. But being a woman in politics is hard to like keep your husbands, because you're like, I'm going drinking with Trump again. And their husband's like, and I'm getting my personal trainer and my BJJ coach. And then I'm going to go speak at the RNC and I'm going to get wasted with 1,000 men in my hotel. It's like, Yeah, it's rough, but it's not women's fault. I'm not saying the men are so awesome. It's just like I do think like American culture is so crazy that some people are like, I'm gonna go overseas and find a wife. I'm not at that point yet. I'm not giving up on American women. I'm 2 years away from that. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it depends what kind of guy you are too, because it's like, I feel like men who complain about women a lot, like they're the problem, and then women who complain about men a lot, they're the problem also. Because they're always like, oh, all these men are so bad. I got divorced 5 times, and my ex-boyfriend, and I have 5 restraining orders because they're so bad. And you're like, is it you? Could be you. And then same with not all the red pill bros, but the one who are like complaining about women all the time. It's like, maybe you just suck. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're not the type of man that makes a woman want to listen. You're not the type of man that makes a woman want to stop so she doesn't listen to you, and then you go somewhere else to find a chick that'll listen. It could be that. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a dynamic to it there as well. We're like overwhelming, when I talk to my boys and stuff, we talk about women and like the situation in America and how everything's falling apart. But at the same time, I'm not like bitter about it every day, like crying online, because it's like there's a lot of women out there, and like it's not always their fault. Sometimes it's your fault, and sometimes like I don't know, if you're a guy that's like that doesn't suck, then you should do okay. You should be able to find another chick. So if you're like constantly nagging about women all the time, to me that's a red flag. Nowadays, though, men, let me know what you guys think. Because, like, women, they do like when a guy doesn't do something. Maybe when you're married, it's different. But it's like when you do too much for a girl, she doesn't like it. And sometimes they like being ignored. They'll say they don't, but then you give them too much attention. They're like, oh, you gave me too much attention today. I'm over it. It's like, okay, do you want me to ignore you and, like, hang out with other chicks? No, yes, no. It's like, ugh. So there is, like, a dynamic to that. But I think also in like the manosphere community, some guys, they're not charming. They don't have a good personality. They're not like naturally good with women. So they watch YouTube tutorials and they like treat women like shit because they think that that's going to get them more women. So they're like, you look ugly today. And then they walk away and they're like, I'm going to crush at this bar. And then nobody likes them, and then they go home and make a YouTube video and they're like, dang, Western women suck. And it's like, yeah, it's totally them. It's not you. So I feel like there's a little bit of that goes on both sides. But even if you are good with women, I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to like balance like giving attention but not giving too much attention, and everybody has like short attention spans and nobody cares anymore. Like back in the 50s and 60s and 40s, it's like, you're my lady, you know what I'm saying? She's like, ooh. And then you go to the walk-in diner and they have rollerblades, or maybe they don't. I don't know, I'm making this up. But back in the day, it's like, you're my girl. Nowadays, like the chick that you're with and the guy that you're like, they got apps, they got hundreds of guys messaging them. So it's like, it's not that special anymore, which is sad. Like back in the day, it's like, oh, he's my guy. It's the only guy I'm going to get, or that's the guy that I want, and we're going to make it last. Nowadays, you go on like 3 dates and it's like, oh, it was pretty good, but I have 1,000 guys messaging me and you probably have hundreds of guys. So it's like, whatever. So it's harder to keep someone's like attention and interest, I think, nowadays, like, and it's no one's fault. It's not girls' fault or guys' fault. It's just Instagram. It's technology. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's all the social media. And then it's also mental. Like, where are you? Like, because at the end of the day, a woman could be beautiful, but she might be not all the way there. Or you might like a guy, but he might be crazier than you think he is. So mental health plays a huge role too. Because I'll give you an example for myself. I have very high standards. Like, I don't think I have low standards. So my dating pool is probably going to be smaller than I'd want it to be, just because I'm not going to just settle for anybody. But at that point, like, if I do like somebody, I want to put the phone down. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be in a group chat. I don't really want to text. I like someone's attention, but it's like, I do want to meet up. I do want to hang out. And at the end of the day, I think that some people, like, they don't work on the phone all the time. So like, they're not thinking that way. Or some people, like, they don't have good social skills and they get like nervous and they do like being on the phone. So it's whatever. But I think, like, everybody wants something else. Some people, they're like, oh, I want to meet somebody I like to put my phone away and just like live in the now. And then others are like, hey, don't rush it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to rush it. I don't want to do too much now. Like, I'd rather be on my phone and figure out if this is right. So I'm exhausted from my phone. So if I find someone I like, it's nice to just put my phone away for hours and not look at it. That's my goal. But not everybody, I think, feels that way. Like, some people, they can't get away from it, or they just feel more comfortable when they're on it. Someone said women are never satisfied. I do think that this world, there's so much temptation, and I feel like back in the day, like there's only so much a woman could do. Now a woman could do so much more if she wants to. That's the problem. And it's not women's fault. And men, they could do the same thing too. There's men who cheat and stuff, but like if you were a pretty woman back in the day, like, okay, you could do a lot. You're the pretty woman. You could date anybody in town. You could do this. Now it's like you could do anything. You know what I'm saying? You got like, I think about that all the time too, because it's like, I'm into, beautiful women, obviously, and I don't want to settle. But it's like if I could see on social media that somebody's beautiful, so can every DJ, so can every musician, so can every athlete, So it's like all the women, like I don't know who realizes it or not, but like a lot of them, that's what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They're traveling around, they get offered, like DJs will fly them out, basketball players will fly them here. They go to Miami, they go to Dubai. Some guys probably pay them to go. It's like, that's the reality of some of these top tier, super, super hot chicks, is that they're getting all the offers, and either they don't take them and they just live a normal life, or they do take them and then they're out of your reach, or even if you could reach them, they're not the type you'd want to make a wife anyway. So it's like that's happening to a lot of the hot chicks, because it's like, what do they want to be, like a waitress at Denny's, or do they want to make real money? And it's like they're doing that type of stuff. So it's like, all these like hot Instagram chicks and stuff like that people are like, oh, that's a dream chick. It's like she's probably doing the most, and it's like unattainable for most people. What would be my perfect date? Beautiful woman, low drama, good personality, no cell phones. The rest of it doesn't really matter to me. Like I just like living in the moment and then go from there. Someone said, woman's value is not derived from their finances and status in the professional world. That's what they've been made to believe. I mean, I think you could see that with like a Chelsea Handler. She's like so mad at Harrison Butker, and it's like, you're the last person that should be making this video, because you're like clowning yourself. You don't even realize it. Marla said trophy wife. Yeah, but nowadays it's even like deeper than trophy wife, because a lot of these chicks, they're not even trophy wives. They're just like professional trophies. So they're not even trying to marry anybody. They're just trying to get everything they could get. Like there's a whole, it's like, I think that's why traditionalism is becoming so popular, because like every guy is like, I want to find a chick that doesn't do that. I want to find a chick that's pretty and hot, but not doing that, because I want a chick off the grid, someone that barely uses social media, that doesn't do, I think that's what most people kind of want. Like, but it's hard to find. It's like, yeah, everybody's kind of burnt out from the other stuff. Someone said not all pretty women cheat. That's not what I said. I mean, men cheat, women cheat. I don't think that's exclusively like a woman thing. And I think there's a lot of women that don't cheat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's hard to find the right person nowadays. And also it's hard to establish the right dynamic so it lasts forever. Because this is my personal opinion. Like if a woman, they'll say all these things, but like a woman wants you to be dominant to some extent and wants you to like run the show. And the second that they don't look up to you like that, they kind of like aren't attracted to you. So I think in a lot of relationships, they stay together, but the woman, like they don't respect, or they're not attracted to their man. So then the power dynamic's gone. Then the woman's like the man is like the woman. You know what I'm saying? She could do whatever she wants. There's no repercussion. You get what I'm saying though. It's just like, it's just like the spark is gone, and they just stay together for whatever reason, if they even do. But it's like, it's not, it's not really there. I do feel like losing leverage, you're just kind of like screwed. And it's tough because like once you get married, like it's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to like want to give women more responsibility and stuff. Like, oh, you're the love of my life. Like, I want to be an equal to you. But as much as women say, I want to be an equal, sometimes they like hate you and they lose respect for you when you think about it that way, and you don't have the man-woman dynamic. So I feel like, that's what I'm like. I want to get married and make it last, but I feel like it's such a fine line. Like even like a chick could be like obsessed with you, and then it's like one thing, and then it's like, it's like, it's just like you want to be reasonable and chill, but women sometimes they don't like chill. Like some will say that they like it, but I do feel like once they don't respect you or look up to you in some way, that they just are not attracted to you. But it's just like a very fine line. It's like, what do I do? I think that's how most men feel, even like married men and stuff, is like they don't know what to do because it's like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I'm being nice, but they don't like nice. Like anytime I'm nice, they don't like it. They want attention, but they don't want attention, but it's too much. But you said this, but you didn't say that. It's just like, what do you want? So I feel like my intuition tells me that what they want is a guy that I'm not going to say they're afraid of, but that they respect so much that they wouldn't want to cheat on you. They wouldn't feel comfortable cheating on you. They don't feel like that's a good idea. They like you so much that they don't want to. If they don't like you that much, it doesn't even mean they're going to cheat, but like the spark's just going to be gone. And sometimes like you could lose that leverage like in the dumbest way, and then you could never have it again and it could never work. Like, there was this thread on Twitter going around and it said like, you should never cry in front of a woman unless someone's born or dies, because crying in front of a woman over something like, they'll never respect you again. And then everybody online was like, yeah, that's true. It happened to me, this and that. And they're like, yeah, crying in front of a girl, unless it's like an extreme situation, like you're done and they'll never like you. And like some women will be like, no, that's not true. I don't mind. But like a lot of women and men were like, yeah, no, that's true. So it's like, it's this like, you got to be dominant. You have to be alpha. You can't show your emotions, but they want to see your emotions. But if they see too much of your emotions, they'll think you're a bitch. But they don't want this. But they want to be an equal. But they don't really want to be an equal. But if you don't give them equality, then they'll tell you that they're like a feminist conservative. That they think it's kind of like equal. But then you give it to them, and then they're like, wait, no, I don't want it now. It's like I feel like it's one of those situations. So I don't know. Maybe there's other cultures where the dynamic is a little easier to navigate, but I don't know. Someone said never ever take relationship advice from a woman. I don't really take a relationship advice from anybody. I listen to everything, but there's things that I've definitely noticed and patterns I've noticed where, yeah. When you know the person, you know the person. Yeah. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but I do think that it was easier to meet a wife and hold a relationship like 40 years ago. Like I know older couples, they've been married for 40, 50, 60 years. Like once you get to a certain age, like you're not going to break up. But it's like, man, like a lot of people in our generation, like as much as we're grateful for things we have, like a lot of us wish we could have like found our wife in our 20s and like been in that generation. But there's people that have success stories in this generation too. It's just you see more divorces, you see less marriages, you see later marriages. I just think like the culture and the structure and the lack of like technology was just way more prime in the 60s and 50s, because it's like you couldn't surf on the internet. You couldn't figure out that there's hot girls all over the place. She couldn't figure out that she could get flown here, this and that. It's like that's your town. That's the phone. If you even have a phone, it's a house phone, and you go on a date and then you leave. It's like the living in the present moment was so much better back then. And now that's why, like you asked me about a perfect date, but in general, just like a good day or a good vacation, a good anything is getting off the phone. Back in the day, like you made a plan with somebody and then you kept it. You didn't have a text. You couldn't text people. It's like, I'm going to be there and pick you up at 7. And then you came. Like everybody ditches everybody nowadays because it's like it's easier to ditch people. Back in the day, you pick them up. You got to know where you're driving. You got to learn the roads. You got to drop them off. Everything you're thinking about it. You're living in the present. So for me, like any sort of situation, the best is when like I do my work and then I get off my phone. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be texting. I want to go on vacation and turn it off all day. I want to walk around and just live in reality, and it's so rewarding nowadays. It probably always was, but it's extra rewarding now because it's so much more rare than it used to be, that when you get it nowadays, it feels extra special because you're like, wow, I could put down my phone for 15 hours and just exist. And it's difficult to do. Sometimes just going for a ride without a phone or going somewhere without a phone that you'd normally bring your phone, you almost feel like you're in a different reality, because you're like, I would be checking. Like you think about it when you don't have it too. Like, oh, I want to check this and that. And you're like, oh, I can't. And then you just start living in the real world. And, you know, it's an interesting dynamic. But I'm going to take off. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Check out dreamrare.com. Everything is almost sold out. I would say like 80 to 90% of the things are under 30 or so. So if you want stuff, get it now. Check it out at dreamrare.com. I'll be back. I'm keeping this under 2 hours. Appreciate it.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/rare